How you doing? My name's Peter. Welcome to the basement. So this video today is going to be a kind of an unboxing video. Now what I have in this box here, I'm not going to make any bones about it whatsoever, is a Commodore 64. That came up on eBay about 6 weeks ago, and it was being sold with a number of accessories. So when I saw it, I jumped on it. It was a buy it now, it wasn't an auction item. So it arrived here at the house about 5 weeks ago. I opened the box to check everything was in it and that nothing was physically damaged. Everything seemed to be fine, so I put it all back in its box and put it in a press. So what I want to do today is I want to open this box here to show you the few bits and pieces I got in the Commodore itself. And what I'd like to do as well is we'll zone in on the Commodore 64 itself. We'll open it up. We'll have a look inside, see that all the chips and all the rest are in it, that there's nothing obvious wrong with it that would stop it from working, and also its power supply. We'll have a look and see, number one, that that's working, and number two, that all the correct voltages are being given, that it's not in any way going to damage the Commodore if we turn it on. And what we'll do then, providing everything is working the way it should, or we think everything is working the way it should, is I will try and hook it up to this TV here behind me, and we'll see if we can get an image on the screen and if the keyboard is working and whatnot. So that's the plan for today's video. So we'll get straight to the unboxing, and I'll show you the few bits and pieces that I got with this. So here's the box here that came to me from Germany about 5 weeks ago. So the person who packed this did a fantastic job unpacking it. I have the hats off on that one. There's plenty of bubble wrap in there, plenty of cardboard, and everything is packed exactly as it should be. Okay, so number one, it came with a whole bunch of books on BASIC and on the Commodore 64 itself. There's the Commodore 64 handbook. There is a book on GeoDOS, and there's all kinds of books here. But the problem with them is that they're in German. Now, I myself, I don't speak, nor do I read German. So their use will be kind of limited, unfortunately, to me. But still, it's nice to have. The main part that came in this box, or the part that I bought it for, is Commodore 64 itself. It's a bread bin model. And the reason I'm interested in opening it up and seeing what way it is on the inside, number one, you can see a couple of keys were changed. But I mean, that doesn't make any difference. A couple of keys were changed around. But on the back here, you see there is no warranty label. So I would imagine somebody has been inside this and the warranty label has been completely removed and cleaned off and all the rest. So I'm just interested to see if anything has been removed or changed, or if anything obvious has been done on the inside of it. And the second thing that came with this box, and the reason that I found it to be such a good deal, in fact, is a 1541 disk drive. Now, I had a Commodore 64C when I was younger, you know, the version that looks a bit like an Amiga, but I never had a disk drive with it. What I had was the data cassette. So I'm interested to see, providing that this is working, which it should be, I'm interested to see what it's like to use one, what the performance is, because I've heard they're kind of slow. But anyway, that'll be for another video. That won't be for today. We'll have a look at that some other time. I'll put that guy there nice and safe. So also I got the power cord for that disk drive and a serial cable to go between the disk drive and the Commodore 64. And I got a whole bag of bits and pieces and cables. So I've got the power supply for the C64. I've also got RF cables and all the rest. And I came with one of these little switch boxes that goes to the TV, so that back in the day you could select between the computer and the TV, well, between the computer and the antenna, and you didn't have to go in behind the TV and plug out the computer to plug in the antenna and all that kind of stuff. The last time I actually saw one of those boxes sold as new was back in 1999 when I bought a Nintendo 64. One of those was included with it as well. So with HDMI now and all that kind of stuff is obsolete. So it's a nice little throwback to the past in a way. And the final thing that came in the box here was a box of discs. So I got over 50 5 1/4 inch discs. Now, there are a couple of original discs, but the original ones are the likes of a test program for the 1541 disk drive. There's also a copy of GeoDOS, which is an original copy of GeoDOS, and there's a few little different bits and pieces like that. But the vast majority are blank discs or discs that stuff has been copied onto, and but that's great because I've got discs now for my disk drive as well. So what we'll do is we will clear off this bench here, and I will set up so that we can take the old Commodore apart, have a look on the inside of it, and test up the power supply. And then, depending what happens there, we'll move onwards and upwards and see where this video goes. Okay. So here's the main attraction, Commodore 64 out of the box. Now, like I said before, a couple of the keys on it are after being changed. You can see the 348, V and M are much lighter colour than all the other keys. And yeah, we'll just have a look. We'll just have a look around the system as such. As I said before as well, it is missing the warranty label, so I'm sure that somebody has been inside of it. There's a slight little scuff or something here, but that's okay. The back label here is marked Commodore C64, and there's some German on it. The end of it says 1046-84. I don't know if that's a year, 1984 or what, I don't know. 5 volt DC, 9 volt AC, 15 watt. The serial number begins with a CA and it says made in USA. So I imagine the CA is California. Now, looking at the back here, what we have is we have our expansion port. We have our RF port to television. We have got a monitor port, I suppose it would be called. It's an 8-pin one. So this guy is capable of giving S-video and composite video out if I make up the proper cable for it. Next guy here is a serial port, which will connect to the floppy disk drive. This guy is for the data cassette. It's the tape port. And the guy over here at the end is the user port. And that guy there, I think there's cartridges or there's all kinds of stuff will go into that as well. Yeah, so that's basically my understanding of the outside of it. What we'll do is we'll crack it open, have a look on the inside, and see what's going on in there. So it's held together with 3 screws, and they're little Phillips head screws. So we'll just remove those, and then we'll see what secrets are lurking inside of this box, because for the price I got it for, to be quite honest, I'm not expecting it to have a SID chip in it, because SID chips go for a lot of money nowadays, and I didn't pay much more for all of this than you would for a SID chip on eBay, to be honest with you. So I'm kind of thinking that may be lacking. Anyway, what harm? We will see soon enough. Now, so that's the 3 of those out. I popped out pretty handily. Now we'll see if we can open this without snapping plastic or anything, because I have no idea how it is put together. Whoop. Ah, there we go. That's after just snapping off one way or the other anyway. Okay, so here we are. Alright, what the heck way is this then? So this is our keyboard connector. I'll just touch a little piece of copper pipe in here to art myself for a second. So we'll remove the keyboard connector, and this guy I believe is for the LED. And just see what way she's plugged in there. Yeah, that's for the LED on the board to turn on. That's quite tight in it actually. But there we go. Anyway, that's that guy off. So here we are. Yeah, that's the way the keyboard is connected in. There's a little label on that guy as well. I don't know what the story with that is. But there we are. That's our keyboard. Anyway, we'll put that over to one side. And now we'll see what way this is. So this is that old cardboardy stuff. What way is that? Is that the hell way is that put on that? Yeah, no. Ah, okay. So it's the, oh man, look at the dust on that. Well, this seems to be pretty protected from dust anyway, but the dust on that guy. Anyway, okay, I think maybe the best thing to do, I'll take this board out altogether. and we'll have a good little look over it just to see what's what. And yeah, we'll go from there. So okay, I'll just put that to one side for the moment. Also, now, so here is our board. So it is a short board anyway, and it is a 250/469 revision 3. Now I believe that to be, it's made in Hong Kong. Yeah, I believe that to be one of the Aldi boards, I think. So I'm after taking a little look on the internet just to figure out what chips are and stuff, because I really don't know anything about the insides of these. So what we have here is a 250/469 revision 3 board. Now this is one of the boards that was sold in Aldi in Germany. And it is, from what I can tell, there was the long board, which was the older style Commodore 64 main boards, and the short board, which this is the first revision of. And it's kind of the link in a way between the old boards and the short boards. So what we have on it anyway, chip wise, is we have our CIA1 chip, which controls the keyboard and also the joystick ports. Over here on this side we have our CIA2 chip, and that controls the user port and also the serial IO port. Now these two chips were on the long board up here together side by side. Beside the CIA2 chip we have our character ROM, which is the guy that's responsible for displaying the characters on screen. Beside that we have our basic and kernel ROM. On the older boards there were two separate ROM chips for each of those, a basic ROM chip and a kernel ROM chip. They're after being combined together into one chip on this board. Here what we have is our memory. It's only two chips on this board, so two 32 kilobyte chips, whereas on the long board it was eight 8 kilobyte chips. So if there's a memory problem on this board, it makes it a lot easier to diagnose. There's only two chips that can be causing it. Up above here we have our processor. It's an 8500, but it's like the 6502. And here is the main change on this actual short board in comparison to long board. This is the equivalent, really, well, it is the PLA, but what it's called here is the MMU, or the Memory Management Unit. So it's the PLA, but also many other chips combined into it, which means that there's a lot less chips on this board than there were on the long board, hence a shorter board. When I say it's like a link between the long board and the short board, this board still has its color SRAM here in this chip. The newer revisions of this board also had this chip integrated into the MMU. Now beside this we have our VIC chip, and the VIC chip here, its job is to display an image on screen. That's what that guy does. This chip here is responsible for timings. It's an 8701 chip, and beside it here is the chip that I thought that this motherboard would be missing, but the vendor was bang on. This here is our SID chip. It's one of the newer revisions. It's an 8580, but the SID chip is there. Now, having a look at this system, having looked at it thoroughly back and front, there was possibly a little bit of rework done here on the RF modulator, but I don't see any other kind of stains of flux or anywhere that a soldering iron was gone near on the board. The only socketed chips are the VIC chip, the SID chip, and also this little timer chip as well as socketed. But everything else is soldered directly to the board. And all the chips have more or less the same date code. They're all in or around week 6 or 7 of 1987. So the board to me looks to be quite good. The only thing I want to check to make sure is that this fuse here is good, and if it is, I'm happy enough to put this back into its plastic casing to seal it all up, and we'll go check the PSU and see if that's okay, and see if we can get an image on screen. So if I put my multimeter into continuity mode, I should quite easily be able to check this guy here. There we go. That fuse is working and it's good. So I'm happy enough to put this back in its box, and from there we'll go onwards and upwards. So this is the old power supply I was showing you there earlier on that I got with the C64. You see on the back of it, it's marked that it takes 220 volts at 50 hertz, and what it gives out is 9 volts AC at 1 amp and 5 volts AC at 1.5 amp. Now, the problem with these power supplies, and the reason we need to test it, is that inside of them there is a 7805 regulator, voltage regulator, and these power supplies get quite hot, and the voltage regulators will fail under heat, and after 40 years pretty much a lot of them have. Now when the voltage regulator fails, it doesn't stop giving current. What it does is it gives a lot more than 5 volts, and if a lot more than 5 volts goes into your Commodore 64 where it should have 5 volts, you're going to end up damaging an awful lot of chips inside the C64. So the way this works anyway, on the pinout on this, we've got this guy is keyed here, this is the top. So what we have is 4 pins in here. We've got our AC current, which comes through these 2 pins here. So this here is our 9 volt AC, and down here we've got ground, and this here is our 5 volt DC. So what we want to be getting is a little shy, a little less than 11 volts coming through here, because as it's not under load, that'll give us about 9 volts when it's plugged in. And down here, a little under 5 volts, but not more than 5.2 volts really, ideally here on the bottom ones. But in any case, even if it is working, this is fine. The test the Commodore 64 is working just in the first place. But I will have to replace the power supply with something a little better, because they are really a ticking time bomb. They will eventually fail. So what we'll do is, we'll snap her in here into this guy. We'll plug it in. There we go. There hasn't been a bang, or there hasn't been anything like that, so we might be fairly okay so far anyway. I'm going to take my multimeter here, and we will put it to AC current. 20 volt AC current, if you can see that there. I'll put that down there. Yeah, we can see what's happening there. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to touch it to these AC pins, and we should be getting shy of 11 volts if all is well. And there we go, 10.89 volts. So that seems to be fairly good to me for 10.9 volts. And we'll move back up to our 5 volts, and we'll go to our ground and our 5 volts here, and we should be getting just a little shy or a little under. That's perfect, 5.05 volts. So no, that seems to be good. I'm happy enough to check it out at that, and but we will have to replace this power supply. But here we go, we'll try it at that anyway. Okay, so we're nearly at the end. We're about to find out, does it work or does it not? The C64, I'm after hooking up to the TV via the RF cable into the antenna at the back of the TV. Our power supply is after being tested. I'm after plugging it into the C64, and it's plugged into the mains. So we'll flip her on. We should get a red LED here, and then I'll put the TV into auto search mode, and we'll see if we get a picture on the screen, and we'll take it from there. So here we go. So we're after getting a red LED. Now all I need to do is to put my TV into auto search mode. Well, hey, so that looks to have worked. It's after tuning in. We've got an image on screen. You can see that the memory is correct anyway. It says 38911, which is correct. Just do a quick little test, see that most of the keys are working. Everything appears to be working, at least. Anything I press appears to be giving something. Yeah, there we go. I don't know about those, but they appear to be, yeah, good. Okay, so yeah, the system appears to be working. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any way of loading up anything on it, because like I said, the disk drive, I want to do the same thing. I want to open it up, make sure everything seems to be okay, and clean it up or whatever if there's anything needs to be done before I actually power it on and try it with the Commodore. So the one thing I was a little concerned about was the Vic chip. Now I found a little one-line of code type program that I can show you here real quick. I wrote it down if you can see that there. That I found on the internet, and what it will do if we tap it in is it will generate random sounds, and it'll give us an idea as to whether the SID chip is working or not. So we'll tap it in there really quickly just to see if it's working, and from there we'll see where we are. Now, there we go. So when we run this, it should play random sounds if the SID chip is working. And it's definitely doing something. And there we go. Well, what I will say, it's very promising because I tried this program earlier on an emulator and I got the same results. So hopefully that means the Vic is working anyway, or not the Vic, the SID is working to some level. So that's good. So what's left to be done? Well, with this Commodore anyway, it seems to be fine. I'm happy enough with it. I'm not going to try retrobrighting it or anything like that. I'm going to leave it in its juice as it is. The power supply, however, I believe this model of power supply can be repaired because although they're potted, they're filled with a type of resin. The 7805 is actually accessible in this type of power supply, so it can be removed and replaced with something better. But I think I would personally prefer to buy a more modern one because they're cheap enough and they're probably in every way better anyway. So that's probably what I will do. Listen, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. Think about subscribing if you wish, because I've got another few Commodore videos coming up, along with videos on the Coco, Spectrum, all kinds of other systems as well. We'll be taking a look at a lot of things over the coming weeks and months. And yeah, leave a comment if you've got anything to say, or if you found I did anything wrong, or there was anything I could have done or should have done that I didn't do, or if you have any advice for me on it. And we'll talk to you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching, guys. See you soon. Bye bye.